Hello, everybody. In today's episode, we'll tackle impersonation. So, we can think of an admin panel and you have a customer that tells you, hey, this thing is broken on my account. And you check on yours and it is clearly working. And, logs don't really tell you much. So, you want to log into their account and see if everything is working there. So in order to do this, you don't want to ask the customer for the password. You want to have an option from the admin panel to impersonate that user. So we'll try and build that today. We'll also build a toggle for the user so they can toggle whether or not they want to be impersonated. Because with GDPR and different weird European thing is you don't necessarily can impersonate a user. So we just want to make sure that, this is something that the user can allow you to do. All right, so I created this very simple test here. And if we write the code, this in theory should work. Right now, if we run the test, we need to add the flag for the test. And now if we run it, we'll get an error because we're getting 404 on the impersonation endpoint. So let's start with adding that. If we go to our API PHP, we can add our routes here. So we'll just add a group for impersonation. And from here, we can create our group with our prefix. We want to add a middleware, so user has to be authenticated. And from here, we need to add two endpoints, one to impersonate the user and one to stop the impersonation. So I will start with the first one. So we'll do something like that. And then we'll do something like that. And now we just need to create our controller. So let's use the make controller method to make the impersonate controller. And now we can import our controller here. So that's great. Now we need to implement those two methods, one for storing the impersonation, one for deleting it. We'll talk about permissions later, but basically what we want to do is we want to get the guard of the current app. We want to log out current user, and then we want to take the same guard, log in as the new user. And most of the time, this is just the simplest solution. This will just log in as this will just log you in as the new user. And here, we would just want to basically reverse that, right? So we would want to log out from the user that you impersonated and go back to the admin. But in order to do that, we need to save something in the session. So after we log in as the new user, and this is important because here the session is regenerated, we want to put something in the session. So we'll just put an impersonator, and we can pass an array here. So we can, impersonator equals request user, and we'll just put impersonator ID, and we can add something like impersonator name if we want to, show it somewhere in the UI. And that's basically it. Now we can just return, whatever data we want here. So we can either return the new user, or we can just return the response that everything went smoothly. And here in the delete method, we would basically grab the ID from the session. So impersonator ID equals session get. And I think we can use dot notation in the session, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it uses array get, so we can. And now we need to find the user. So impersonator equals to user find impersonator ID. If there was no user, we want to fail and probably log out the user. And if the user was found, we just want to forget our impersonator key from the session. We want to log out, and we want to log in as impersonator. And then we can just return a success here at the very bottom. Okay, so this is looking pretty good, if I say so myself. Now, if we run our test, let's see what we are getting. We didn't get anything. It may be because it was misspelled here. It should have been user. Okay, so going back here, I fixed the test. I did a little cut because I had a problem with this here, not returning the proper user. This is pretty weird because Sanctum here uses the web guard. So, if we have a request injection here and we do something like request user, it should return a proper user for us, but it doesn't. So maybe I am missing something. Maybe oh, I bet that's why. Well, maybe not. Yeah, so either way, I will just enforce the proper guard for now. And yeah, if we do run this, we can see that the user was in fact changed and then it was reverted back, and then we got back the initial user. Now what we want to add here is, first of all, this code is kind of a mess. While I don't love it, we could shove it in the in our model, but a lot of people will say that it shouldn't touch session or authentication, and I agree. However, it says really nicely, like if you could do something like impersonate user, it just reads great. So for me, this is worth it. If you don't like it, you can create a service or whatever else. I'll just create a new trait called impersonates users. And here I will create 3 methods. I will create one for impersonating. So it will be called impersonate. It will return a user, or it doesn't really have to return a user. It will take a user as a parameter for sure. we'll have one to stop impersonating. And we'll have one to check if user is impersonating. So we can basically copy this piece here. Just see if this still works. Okay. So yeah, let's just copy that. Let's put it here. Impersonator here will be just this. Now for the stop impersonating, we can copy this code. Sorry, this code here. There is no impersonation. We'll just log the user out, else we'll do something else. We can optionally, throw an exception here, but that, the chance that impersonator was deleted is not big, so I wouldn't worry about this. And here we can do something like this. We need to keep in mind that this is a syntactic sugar. It won't actually work. So like if you were to do something like user, find and then random ID that isn't currently authenticated, if we checked, if the user is impersonating, it would return true. But we just need to make sure that this should only be used on request user, and this will be just like our dirty hack and synthetic sugar, because this shouldn't be executed on our arbitrary users. So we'll add the boolean here. This is fine, and now we can just replace our calls here. So we could do something like impersonate user, and here we could do request user stop impersonating. And if we did everything correctly, we still need to add this to our user. Impersonates users. Now if we run our test again, we can see that it still passes. All right. So now we need to check if we are truly able to impersonate the user. To do that, I will just create a policy. Called user policy, and we'll go there. And here by default we'll allow the user to be impersonated. Oh, it shouldn't be. Wait. We'll add a new public function called impersonate. We'll get a user here first, and the first user is impersonator. The second user will be impersonatee. So, we can add any checks here that we want. So, for example, if impersonator isn't an admin, I added one parenthesis too much, then, we'll just deny with exception. You don't have permission to impersonate users. And then we can check if our impersonatee, actually agreed to be impersonated. And to do that, we can either use the permission system that we built previously, or we can just add a flag to the users table. we can just add a migration, and we can do something like add can be impersonated to users table. And here we can just add a boolean called can be impersonated, which can be true by default. And again, this is because of like GDPR regulations and stuff like that. If you don't need that, that's fine. I'm just showing you how you can do this. But yeah, basically you need a conditional, so that's not rocket science. So if impersonatee cannot be impersonated, we'll return you can impersonate this user, or maybe something like this user didn't agree to be impersonated. And we can, extract this to a function. All right. We probably also don't want to, and we can add this as a separate case, or just add it in this method that would do the validation. Or you know what? Let's just do this in the policy. So, for example, we don't necessarily want the current user to impersonate themselves. So we can add it here as yet another conditional. And if our impersonator is already impersonating, we need to deny this as well. So now we just need to add this guard here. So we can add gate, authorize, impersonate, and then pass the user. And in theory, if we run our test, it will fail. And it did. So let's change our test so it actually passes. So first of all, we need to add an admin role to our impersonator. And maybe before we do that, we can actually create a test that will assume that we won't be able to impersonate a user as a regular user. So this should return a 403, right? Oh, we have another issue. Okay, let me just change the name. Cannot impersonate a user. And let me take a look at this error here, and I will get back to you guys. Okay, so in last episode we did an oopsie and we forgot to implement this check permission to method that's called in the spotty permission registrar. So I have fixed that, and this is the implementation of this method. This should, this fixes our tests. So now we can add another helper method to do something like sadmin, and after the user is created or passed, we would give we would assign role to be an admin. And when we do that, it didn't change anything because we need to do as admin here. And now it will still probably return throw 3, but we can add something like DD, and here we will be able to see the actual message. It should be one level up. Yeah, so let's do DD here. Let's rerun the test. And here we can see that the user didn't agree to be impersonated. If we post it as JSON, this data should probably be formatted a bit nicer to our use case. Yeah. Not a lot. Yeah, okay, either way. We will copy this test. Let me just reformat that here. And we'll rename this one to admin cannot impersonate user that didn't agree to be impersonated, which is a great name for a test. So here we'll assert forbidden, and we could change all of these to assert okay or successful. And we can remove all of these from here. And now we'll add this permission to the user. And now if we run all of the tests, we should get 3 green tests. And we did. So that's basically the full extent of this feature. Sorry for all of the confusion before.